After a couple of episodes focused on the SmackDown brand, we are back with Raw today. But remember, we do have implications from the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view coming over into Raw because of all the changes that are going on with the tag team, Cruiserweight and women's divisions. So expect some new faces to be showing up on Raw tonight. Hello and welcome to part 6 of the Road to Wrestlemania. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we have an episode of Raw. I think we're 2 or 3 weeks out from the next pay-per-view, which the name of it escapes me. Fastlane, is that the next one? Or is that some other point of the year? What's going on with my hair? It's all over the place. And obviously we are also starting to tee up towards WrestleMania. So we start the show off with an angle built off the back of the ending to last week's show, because we had a mass brawl between Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They were all over each other. They're coming out and having a big old argument. Reigns and Rollins have a match in the main event of tonight's Raw to finally name the number one contender to Kevin Owens' Universal title. And Chris Jericho is just inserting himself into all of it because he's Chris Jericho and he's great and he should be in every angle. Anytime there's a microphone in a WWE ring, Jericho should be there holding it. The storyline has advanced, it's gained heat. We get an A for the segment. It doesn't get much better than that. I can live with all of that. We've got off to a hot start to the show. There you go, a strong start to the show, and the crowd got hotter. The announcing was a little bit iffy, and Renee Young struggling apparently, which is a bit of a shame. But there you go, Owens worked the crowd well. Jericho was superb without a script and had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time, because that's what Jericho does. And even Roman Reigns and Rollins, they're both doing well in an unscripted segment. The four of these, they are the Raw brand. I know you don't like Roman Reigns. I don't mind him, and the game certainly rates him highly. And we get an A, and we're happy with an A. An A is good. And pre-booking, we don't need to do a pre-booking because the match is already booked in. So yes, we want to continue without creating a pre-booking. And then we get the first of the fallout incidents from the changes to all the different divisions. And Kalisto is back. Well, he's reunited with Sin Cara here on Raw because the whole of the Cruiserweight division is here, and Kalisto is going to be part of that division. But the two of Sin Cara wasn't particularly happy to see him back. He's hinting at a heel turn, but the two of them are having a brawl backstage anyway and arranging a match for later on in tonight's show. It gets a C- on the rating. And we are turning Sin Cara and having Kalisto and Sin Cara go against each other. No, we don't want to continue without addressing this. We are going to complete the Sin Cara heel turn. He's going to have a cocky gimmick. Raw's where he hangs out. Kalisto can go back to SmackDown. He's not welcome here. And that's generally the story of what's happened there. The turn is a complete success, and we have an immediate feud between Kalisto and Sin Cara that adds a little bit of much needed upper mid-card status to what has been a difficult to manage Cruiserweight division. So I'm happy with that as the first part of the decision. C-, we can live with a C-. Colt Cabana? I think he's a new signing. I don't think he was here last week. He's just turned up straight away. No introduction, no talking. He's just having a match with Titus O'Neil, because why not? He's debuted his fun babyface gimmick, which got an initial rating of great. He also had a decent in-ring performance of a C-. Titus O'Neil getting a D. Cabana's inserting himself into the US title picture, so he's part of that storyline, although it apparently lost heat because I guess someone new just appears. It doesn't really, I probably shouldn't have added him to the storyline just yet. But there you go. I told you there'd be new faces, and they're not just new faces that are coming over from SmackDown. Colt Cabana's here, everybody. Yay! And then we move on to a rematch from Elimination Chamber last night, because the whole of the women's division is here now. So we're having a rematch for the not going to be around much longer SmackDown women's title. It's Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch won the title at Elimination Chamber last night, and she successfully defends her title against Alexa Bliss. rematch is done now. Now we can work towards uniting the Raw Women's title and the SmackDown Women's title. So the overall Women's title storyline advances. Becky Lynch, another solid in-ring performance. And this time the colour commentary is good. I don't get it. Why wasn't it good at the start? Alexa Bliss really off her game. Just as well we took the title off her. She can now tumble down the card and work on improving so she can get up to the kind of standard that we're expecting from the likes of Becky Lynch and Sasha and Charlotte and all these other people who are awesome. D+ is a disappointment, but really highlights the reason why we've wanted to move all the ladies over onto one card, because if that was your championship match on SmackDown and it can only drag a D+ rating, that's why we need to consolidate the division and try and make it any good. We have another new signing. Triple H is out in the ring introducing another of his new signings, and it's only Jay Lethal. He's arrived as well. He's debuting a fan favourite gimmick, which gets an average reaction from the crowd, and he underperformed apparently, but Triple H saved the segment and gets us a C overall. And Jay Lethal has arrived, and he also wants to be part of this new Cruiserweight division. I think he's small enough to be a Cruiserweight, isn't he? According to the game he is. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily put him there in real life, but we're trying to make this Cruiserweight division awesome and make it mean something. We need stars and big names in there. So we've already got Kalisto and Sin Cara in. Now we've got Jay Lethal as well. And he's going straight into a match where he's teaming with last week's debuting new Cruiserweight, Kenny Omega. So it's Kenny Omega and Jay Lethal. They're not even in a Cruiserweight match because Bo Dallas certainly isn't a Cruiserweight. Brian Kendrick obviously is, but it's just a tag match. Obviously the tag division isn't here, but we're still going to have tag matches from time to time. And Omega and Lethal defeat Dallas and Kendrick, with Jay Lethal pinning Brian Kendrick after a flying elbow drop. The two new Cruiserweights performing well. The two old chaps not so much. Bo Dallas not suited to his gimmick, and Brian Kendrick is off his game. Well, luckily, you two are basically jobbers here, so we don't need to worry too much about that. And the Cruiserweight title storyline has advanced, gained heat, C rating, excellent stuff. And straight after the match, Jay Lethal, he's having another chat with Triple H, this time backstage. Look, I've just debuted. Now I've pinned one of your established stars. Time for me to have a Cruiserweight title shot, isn't it? You know, I've been here nearly 20 minutes and I've not won the title yet. Gimme. This time he performs a little bit better. Triple H is excellent again. The Cruiserweight title storyline advances a little further, and we've got a Cruiserweight storyline that's managing to get a B- out of an angle straight away. The changes to the Cruiserweight division are starting to pay off, which is awesome. Now we have another women's match. This time we've got Bayley against Carmella, one of the matches that has appeared because of being able to consolidate everyone onto one card. Full disclosure, this was just a way to get Bayley involved in Raw. I booked the whole thing, then realised she didn't have a match. So I played Pick a Diva and... Oh, not Diva. Pick a women's wrestler. Although, Divas, we'll talk about that when we're on SmackDown in the next video, because there's going to be something Diva-ish over there. Because someone did point out in the comments that because of the way WWE is set up and needs a certain amount of sex appeal, we still need to have some women's wrestlers over on SmackDown, but the women's division's not going to be there. So we're not going to bring back the Divas title or anything like that, but we do need to have more Attitude Era type women's wrestling over there, maybe. That's not proper wrestling, it's more just silly nonsense. And some of these women's wrestlers who are just never going to make it in a strong wrestling women's division can go over there and be old school divas. Carmella might be one of them. Bayley getting a D-, Carmella with an E. There you go. We even have a women's undercard story that started with this segment. Bayley, that's the second time she's been off her game, at least. Only a D-. Carmella's improving her performance skills, but I think it's going to be too little too late for her if she can only turn in an E in what's now quite a packed women's division over here on Raw. So she might be moving back to SmackDown fairly quickly. And then we have the match that was set up earlier in the evening. So furthering the Cruiserweight title storyline again, Kalisto versus Sin Cara. Sin Cara defeats Kalisto in 10 minutes with La Mystica pinning him straight after it. Both of them coming in with C's. We get a C on this segment. Kalisto's improving his technical skills, and remember, Sin Cara is now a heel, and he also is starting to push himself on in that Cruiserweight division. Now we have an angle in which Mickie James, new over from SmackDown, is teaming up with Nia Jax, who was not really doing very much over here on Raw, and they're just beating the hell out of Natalya. We don't know why. No one's saying anything. They're just beating Natalya up. Natalya's supposed to be a heel. What's all that about? Nobody knows at the moment. The segment gets a D-, and we are going to turn Natalya face because she's just been beaten up backstage. Obviously, she needs to become a babyface off the back of that. So, yes, we'll turn Natalya. She has a true born gimmick, which has an initial rating of great, and the turn is a complete success, and we now have a strong, talented babyface. It was a little bit weak, and there was a lot of strong heels in the women's division, and I like Natalya as a face, and there you go. We have a brute and a really crazy lady who managed to turn her face in one little backstage segment. This might be another one of those matches which is just keeping people busy for now, but they're two of the closest things we've got to tag teams left on Raw now. Neither of them are going to go over and take part in the actual tag division, but they're very much alliances between Sheamus and Cesaro, and we've seen Rusev and Samoa Joe hanging out a lot since Samoa Joe debuted back in our first part of this series. So we have a tag match between the four of them. Rusev and Joe win after Samoa Joe defeats Cesaro with a muscle buster. All B's apart from Rusev, who gets a C. These lot are all going to be part of our US title picture, so it's advancing that segment. Samoa Joe is improving in technical and performance skills and continues to look like a big, dominant heel, and Rusev is being dragged along with him as well, and they're both looking big and strong and beaten two very, very good members of the upper mid-card. You could make an argument for either of them probably being part of the main event picture, really. B- for the match. Everyone's happy, and Samoa Joe got to be getting ready for a US title match at some point. Sami Zayn must be looking over his shoulder, wondering when his next beating's coming. And now we get an explanation of what happened at Elimination Chamber the night before, because after the women's title match last night, if we all remember, Becky Lynch got attacked by Charlotte Flair and the debuting beautiful people coming over from TNA, if they're still there. We never did establish it. I didn't look it up. Velvet Sky and Madison Rayne. So Charlotte comes out and just, she's announcing she's made some signings. Why not? She's a Flair. She can do what she wants. She's the women's champion. So she's signed a new tag team in Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky, the beautiful people. They make their first appearance, wave at the crowd. Everyone's happy. Madison Rayne was pretty poor, but it's more Charlotte Flair mic time, and we're really trying to make her into an absolute superstar. It's a shame we're only getting a D+, but she now has a tag team who are going to do her bidding, and we have a little stable forming here. They're not the beautiful people. These two are. Charlotte is above all that, but we have the early stages of a stable forming, and they might not be the last members of this new stable appearing in the women's division. And we go straight into a match where the three of them, just after they've been announced, take on Sasha Banks, Nikki Bella, who's fresh over from SmackDown, and a debuting from NXT, the NXT Women's Champion, Asuka. Is that how you say her name? You're going to have to let me know down in the comments if I've said that right. And she comes straight in and defeats Madison Rayne by submission and just says, there you go. I was the NXT Women's Champion. I'm a bit of a surprise here. I know Sasha Banks and Nikki Bella are two of your top faces, but I'm here now too. You said you were doing a strong women's division. I just made your new superstar submit. Aren't I great? Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky both off their game, which is something we need to be monitoring. They were supposed to be coming in for a little bit of star quality from TNA, and it doesn't seem to be working so far, probably because I put star quality and TNA in the same sentence, which was probably my first mistake. They're both coming with D's, Charlotte with a C-, everyone else with D's as well, but we get both our women's storylines are advancing, and we gain heat on the women's undercard story, because that's certainly where these two are going to be hanging out. The other four, they're probably all main event women's wrestlers. Asuka maybe will take care of these two and just put them in their place first. Haven't quite decided what we're doing, but look at this women's division forming. It's going to be ace. And now we just have a little angle, nothing said, Just Finn Balor and Kenny Omega just bump into each other backstage. Maybe there's hand signals exchanged between the two. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's hints at things that might be to come one day. Maybe there's not. But the crowd lap it up. It gets a B-, and we just move on very quickly into a massive tag team match. We've got Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens taking on Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. Remember, they announced their little alliance last week, and there's that long-running rivalry between Zayn and Owens and Jericho both getting involved in the US title stuff, and Zayn beat Jericho for the US title. So there's feuds left, right and centre all over the place in this match, and we need to get some things settled. It ended up with a draw because it descended into chaos after Braun Strowman just got involved and beat everybody up. I got bored of playing it slow with Braun Strowman. We're making him a monster in the Kev-verse as well. So the match is a draw. Braun Strowman just basically destroyed everybody in the ring. It gets a B-. It gets Strowman involved in a segment that is a B-, which is good. Kevin Owens carrying the match, which when it's a match with those four competitors in, to have anyone carrying it shows it was a pretty decent in-ring performance, but everyone was good. Sami Zayn's rumble skills are improving, and good to see Braun Strowman just pushing himself a little bit higher up the card. He's not necessarily pushing himself quite as high as he has in real life, although obviously you've got the Universal Champion and the US Champion in this match, so he couldn't really push much higher. But B-, Strowman advances, everyone looks pretty strong, everyone's happy. And then Goldberg comes out and, very simple, just announces that he's going to accept Brock Lesnar's challenge for a match at WrestleMania. We're not going to have any of this silliness with him taking on Kevin Owens that we've got in real life. Lesnar versus Goldberg doesn't need to be for the title. And if that isn't the plan in real life, if he's not taking the title off Kevin Owens, what's the point of that match? Because it just makes Goldberg look weak going into WrestleMania, unless Strowman gets involved somehow, but he's busy doing other stuff. It doesn't make sense what they're doing in real life. I don't know why you need Lesnar against Goldberg to be for the title. It seems to be what they're setting up. We're not going down that route. We'll have them have a match, but that's all they need. We get a B- on the segment, and our WrestleMania Legends storyline advances, because remember, that not only involves that match, we've also got the Kurt Angle Undertaker potential match is taking part in our little Legends storyline as well. So we keep pumping good ratings into that storyline. That's a good thing, and it goes across both brands as well. Oh yeah, we do want to create a pre-book. Oh, actually, no, I can't do this with you lot watching, because you'll see some of the other WrestleMania matches I've already got planned. So yes, we want to continue, because I don't want to show you what my WrestleMania card looks like at the moment. Right, last week, Rich Swann became the number one contender for the Cruiserweight title. So he finally gets his title shot against Neville. We've spent most of this episode of Raw building up the Cruiserweight division. So now we have a title defence. Neville does make the defence, pinning Swann after 9 minutes after a red arrow. But we've got another Cruiserweight match. And this time with wrestlers who were here before we started bringing in the new blood. Comes out with a C. Neville with a C-, Swann with a D. The crowd are buzzing, because we had a high-flying, spectacular match. The commentary was good, and the Cruiserweight title storyline advances again. We actually have quite a strong-looking Cruiserweight title storyline all of a sudden, in one show. I think we've gone from having the Cruiserweights being a real issue to the Cruiserweight division actually being a reason to watch Raw, which is what it should be. It should be exciting and awesome, and it should be taking place that high up the card. I mean, this is one of the last matches on this week's episode of Raw. It's a championship match. It should be on towards the end. And they stole the show. They were great. And then we have the Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins match. Superb wrestling. Great heat. Reigns gets a B+. Seth Rollins gets an A. And ultimately, Seth Rollins defeats Roman Reigns by disqualification. Because, and if it lets me do it, it doesn't do it. It's the Roman Reigns heel turn, basically. That's what we've had going on there. Reigns just takes it too far and ends up beating Rollins up with a steel chair. So we get a B on that segment. Reigns is now a heel. Rollins is now the number one contender. He'll take on Kevin Owens at Fastlane. And so much stuff coming out of that. We only get C+ for the show as a whole, which, if you look at those ratings, I think that's a little bit disappointing. We've got Okay, we've only got the 1A, but we've got a lot of solid Bs and decent Cs on there. It's something to build on. Yes, we don't have enough interesting storylines yet, but we've sown the seeds for a lot of them in today's episode of Raw, and we've got time to get that right before WrestleMania. We've gained popularity in 3 regions, lost it in 18. We don't care about any of that. I'm feeling much more confident about where Raw is going heading into WrestleMania now than I was the last time we did a Raw episode. And in our next video, we've got the episode of SmackDown directly after Elimination Chamber, where we get some new faces turning up over there as well, both from outside the company, and tag teams mooching across there from Raw. And we need to have a unification of the tag titles at some point as well. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Let me know down in the comments what you would have done differently with your booking. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And thank you very much for watching.